8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj and read by Lavani Vijayatunga. First, we take a look at the headlines. The minimum monthly salary of the private sector employees has been fixed at 12,500 rupees effective from 16th of this month. The minimum daily wage has been declared as 500 rupees. The vaccination process for 60 years and above will be expedited during the next few days. The government has spent so far around 250,000 million rupees to control the COVID-19 situation. Sri Lanka extends island-wide quarantine curfew. Sri Lanka confirms 3,812 new COVID infections today. Record high of 214 COVID deaths reported in Sri Lanka. Army chief says no curfew passes required to operate essential services. In news overseas, Joe Biden says U.S. will hunt down Kabul airport attack jihadis. And in sports news, Chris Gaines paralyzed after stroke during a heart surgery. Those were the headlines, and now more on to the details of the local news. A minimum monthly salary of the private sector employees has been fixed at 12,500 rupees effective from 16th of this month. The minimum daily wage has been declared as 500 rupees. The relevant Gazette notification has been released on the 20th of this month. Commissioner General of Employment Secretariat Prabhat Chandrakirti said the relief allowance based on 2005, number 36 of the budgetary allocation and number 4 of the 2016 budgetary allocation should be added to this account. Minister Kelly Rambukala says that the vaccination process for 60 years and above will be expedited during the next few days. Effective measures have been taken to include each individual of this age category and to provide a comprehensive report to the respective district secretariats. The minister made these remarks at a meeting with the representatives of the GMOA today. The minister also said vaccinating children will be considered in the near future. The government has spent around 250,000 million rupees to control the COVID-19 situation. This includes procurement of vaccinations, maintaining the COVID patients at selected treatment centers, procurement of medicines, oxygen and medical equipment, providing additional facilities for the increasing patients. The government has spent this large amount amidst losing many revenue income sources due to COVID pandemic. This large amount of fund is spent with the sole purpose of saving the lives of the citizens while facing major challenges in the economy. Further, a substantial amount has been spent on carrying out PCR and antigen tests. The country incurs around 4,100 billion rupees due to the lockdown situation. Sri Lanka has extended the current island-wide quarantine curfew orders by a week in a bid to curb the soaring COVID-19 figures in the country prompted by the rapid spread of the Delta variant. Minister Kelly Rambukala tweeted that the extended quarantine curfew orders are effective until 4 a.m. on the 6th of September, that's Monday. He urged the members of the public to continue to work from home in a bid to and abide by the curfew orders while refraining from unnecessary travels. The decision was taken during the meeting of the Special Committee on COVID-19 Control convened under the patronage of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa this morning. On August 20th, Sri Lanka imposed a 10-day island-wide quarantine curfew and it was set to be lifted on 4 a.m. on the 30th of August. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. And we continue with more local news. As many as 3,812 persons have tested positive for the novel coronavirus so far today, the Ministry of Health confirmed. All new cases are associated with the New Year COVID-19 cluster. The new development brings the total number of COVID-19 cases confirmed in the country thus far to 416,182. At present, more than 54,800 virus-infected patients are receiving medical care at hospitals, treatment centers and homes. The tally of total recoveries reached 353,191 today as 2,122 more patients were discharged after returning to health. The total number of people who fell victim to COVID-19 infections in Sri Lanka soared yet again as a record high of 214 new fatalities were confirmed by the Director General of Health Services yesterday. This is the highest number of deaths reported within a day since the beginning of the pandemic and the second consecutive year day, the daily fatalities count crossed the grim milestone of 200. The new development has pushed the official death toll from the virus outbreak in Sri Lanka to 8,371. According to the data released by the Department of Government Information, the latest victims include 120 males and 94 females. As many as 151 deaths were reported among the elderly people who are aged 60 and above. In addition, 58 individuals aged between 39 to 59 years and 5 individuals below the age of 30 years have also succumbed to the virus infection. The government has decided that all dedicated economic centres may be open again for 2 days, tomorrow, August 28th, as well as 29th of August. However, these two will be only available for wholesale trading. The CID commenced investigations on the alleged frauds that occurred at the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Authority during the previous Yahapalana regime. The CID focused its attention on the data and information stored at the database of the authority. The CID is investigating the nature and the authenticity of the information stored in the database, whether any information is related to some big political stalwarts of Yahapalana regime. It is revealed through the Presidential Commission report that the government incurred a loss of 850 million rupees due to this malpractice. Director General of Health Data Collection Bureau of Health Ministry, Specialist Dr. Palitha Karunaprema says that the electronic system for vaccination process is being implemented at present. Around 14 million data has been included into the database of the electronic system so far. The main objective of this project is to provide a smart vaccination card to each fully vaccinated individual of the country, he added. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. The minimum monthly salary of the private sector employees has been fixed at 12,500 rupees effective from the 16th of this month. The minimum daily wage has been declared as 500 rupees. The vaccination process for 60 years and above may be expedited during the next few days. The government has spent so far 250,000 billion rupees to control the COVID-19 situation. Sri Lanka extends island-wide quarantine curfew. Sri Lanka confirms 3,812 new COVID infections today. Record high of 240 COVID deaths reported in Sri Lanka. Army Chief says no curfew passes required to operate essential services. And that was the local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The main news story for tonight, a large gem hall found in Palmadulla, Ratnapura, recently has been sent to Switzerland for analysing purpose. The main objective of this whole exercise is to obtain international certification for this rare gem variety. This is scheduled to be auctioned in China upon completion of the certification process. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And in Watchlight tonight, the doctors say patients suffering from chronic illnesses should take their prescribed medicines, although they have been given COVID vaccines. No medicine has been found globally to eradicate COVID-19. Therefore, Professor Priyadarshini Galapathy of the Colombo Medical College said that taking expensive medicines cannot be approved. She said that antibiotics should not be taken to control COVID without medical advice. That came to you in Watchlight, and now we move on to the world news. And first, look at the headlines. Afghanistan, Uyghur fear the Taliban, and now China too. COVID vaccination complications dwarfed by the virus risk. Joe Biden says U.S. will hunt down Kabul airport attack jihadis. And now we move on to the details of the world news. Earlier this week, as the dust began to settle on the Taliban's blistering takeover of Afghanistan, a small group gathered at a house in the northern city of Mazar-i-Sharif. The guests arrived discreetly in ones and twos, keen to avoid the attention. They were elders from the city's Uyghur community, plus some family members and others who joined from different cities via Skype. The mood in the house was fearful. There was only one topic of conversation: escape. A major review of vaccinations suggests the AstraZeneca jab does raise the risk of blood clots and another serious condition that is cause bleeding. But the study found that the risk of such problems following a coronavirus infection was still as much higher. The University of Oxford-led team also found an increased risk of strokes after the Pfizer jab, but again at a much lower rate than after the infection. The team said it once again showed the substantial benefit of the vaccination. President Joe Biden has promised to hunt down the jihadis behind the attack in Kabul, which killed at least 90 people, including 13 U.S. troops. Mr. Biden warned the U.S. would not forgive the perpetrators. The twin blast claimed by the local branch of the Islamic State tore through the crowds of men, women and children outside the Kabul airport. They were hoping to join the 100,000 people airlifted out of Afghanistan since they fell into Taliban militants. And to conclude the world news, the headlines once again. Afghanistan's Uyghur fear the Taliban and now China too. COVID vaccination complications dwarfed by virus risk. Joe Biden says US will hunt down Kabul airport attack jihadis. And that was the world news.
Development News is brought to you by
Quality matters than price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melva RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melva RB500, number one in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
And in development news, Minister Namal Rajapaksa says any family could earn an income and establish a consistent economic plan through home gardening. This could be started as a hobby and later be converted to a full-time self-employment. This will help to meet the basic vegetable requirements of the family and earn an income by selling the surplus produce, the minister added. And that came to you in the segment of development news.
Development News was brought to you by
Quality matters than price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melva RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melva RB500, number one in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
And we move on to sports news. Former New Zealand all-rounder will undertake a significant rehabilitation process at a specialist hospital. Former New Zealand all-rounder Chris Cairns is paralyzed in his legs after suffering a stroke in his spine following an emergency heart surgery in Sydney, New Zealand media reported today. That was the sports news, business news coming up.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Savings account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
In business news, Seahorse Yachts Private Limited of the Maldives will invest $58 million to set up and operate a state-of-the-art yacht building facility at the Hambantota International Port Group premises. Production is set to commence by early 2022 and the project will generate over 500 direct and indirect employment opportunities. That was the business news, and economic news follows.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Savings account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
And in economic news, the all-share price index reached its all-time high of 8,920.7 points yesterday, whilst earmarked a turnover of 10 billion rupees. The enthusiast local appetite on logistics, exports and other dollar-earning stocks drove the market to reach its new high yesterday. Thus, the all-share price index increased by 164.1 points to close at 8,920.7, whilst the S&P SL20 index also increased by 157.5 points to close the day at 3,341.2. Expo Lanka Holdings, Haley's, LOLC Holdings, Sampath Bank and Hatton National Bank remained as top positive contributors to the ASPI during the day. That was economic news and the weather report to conclude.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And finally, the weather report, the Met Department says prevailing showery condition over the southwestern part of the island is expected to continue during the next few days. Showers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and northwestern provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa and central provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts. Several spells of showers will occur in the hum. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the Uva province and in the Ampara and particular districts after 2 p.m. This weather report was published this evening at 7:30 p.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. Meanwhile, the international weather forecast website AccuWeather.com predicts that Colombo weather would be generally fair in the night. Today's daytime temperature was observed to be around 29 degrees Celsius. There was light showers in many parts of the island, especially in the Colombo district, and it will be in the night. Tonight's temperature will be around 27 degrees Celsius, and there will be scattered showers in selected spots late in the night. The ground temperature would be around 27 degrees Celsius at the time of this news broadcast. The air quality index AQI is 18, which shows fair condition in Colombo. The air quality is generally acceptable for most individuals. And that was the weather report.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee. And before we conclude this bulletin of news, let's get back to the headlines once again. The minimum monthly salary of the private sector employees has been fixed at 12,500 rupees effective from the 16th of this month. The minimum daily wage has been declared as 500 rupees. The vaccination process for the 60 years and above will be expedited during the next few days. The government has spent so far around 250,000 million rupees to control the COVID-19 situation. Sri Lanka extends island-wide quarantine curfew. Sri Lanka confirms 3,812 new COVID infections today. Record high of 214 COVID deaths reported in Sri Lanka. The Army Chief says no curfew pass is required to operate essential services. And in news overseas, Joe Biden says US will hunt down Kabul airport attack jihadis. And in sports news, Chris Gaines paralyzed after stroke during a heart surgery. And with that, we conclude this bulletin of news.